Hi, welcome back to the Trial by Jennifer podcast series. I'm your host, Jennifer Butterfield, and today I have guest Terri Lasater, who is a serial entrepreneur and on a mission for female empowerment. And she also happens to be a mom of four. And so I am so excited to have you on, Terri. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about your journey. So it's great to have female cohorts and watch you too and go, wow, I can learn a lot from you. I love that at any age, right? My
Mhm.
name's Terri Lasater. As mentioned, I am a serial entrepreneur. That is a fact. I have always been a hustler and always been able to make money. But sometimes these things come to pass. Out of circumstances, out of things that have happened to you, and who you are, your culture, your how you were brought up. So I have four children. That is correct. I'm pretty sure they're on a mission to eat me alive sometimes, but they've also helped create this ability for me to also be who I am and
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur. So I actually own four businesses.
Wow.
One of yeah, I own a construction company that domain construction that has made a great living and life for myself and my children. And I am a part owner in a barber shop on the
Yes.
east side of Austin, Daddy's Barber Shop. I am a silent partner of a custom metal uh,
Cool.
company, Black Star
Mhm.
Metal, custom metal, wooded metal, actually.
Love
And
it.
that is one of my oldest child. He is a certified welder, and I said we've got to do this. And so he does architectural build steel with me on some of my builds, and he does art, and he does metal walls, and all these great things that we've been able to do together. And so that's been a fun venture.
Mhm.
And then I'm creating, as you mentioned, a female empowering program, coaching uh, business with another entrepreneurial, serial entrepreneurial friend of mine who does the same thing I do. We build businesses and we create businesses, and we see that everywhere we go. So it's always a difficult, thing to kind of go, slow down. Do I really want to add
Mhm.
another company? I don't know.
Well, I mean, with the mission, it sounds like absolutely. And I just find that to be so impressive. I can't wait to dig into how you've balanced all of that, where the inspiration for some of these endeavors have come from, and to talk a little bit more about your newest venture. But before we get into that, I want to ask you the question that I ask every single one of my guests. What was the conversation around personal finance like in your home growing up? And being that you also have four children, how has that conversation evolved in motherhood for you as well?
Those are great questions. So, my father was a stockbroker, commodities broker on Wall Street,
Wow.
and I thought, man, I just want to do what my dad does. And he can walk into a business and create something from nothing. And he had, he was in the precious metals business, commodities, and he ended up in the oil and gas and created multi-million dollar companies and had multi-million dollar clients, right? And so I was fascinated by his mind and his ability to do that. And so I watched a lot. I paid attention to him a lot, and we are a lot alike. Uh, Now I would ask him, Dad, teach me everything you know about
Mhm.
finances, about um, investments. How do I set myself up for later? And unfortunately, my father would say, unless you have money, you only need a savings account. And I
Mhm.
was horrified by that.
Mhm.
I was horrified by that idea. So I really didn't get a lot of financial information from a father who had investments everywhere. It was just obscene. And so I learned from an early age from him that I was going to have to seek that information out myself.
Mm-hmm.
B, that I was interested in seeking out that information, and C, that a savings account was not going to be it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't limit me. And so
Right.
that's kind of my attitude about everything. Yeah, don't minimize, don't limit.
Mm-hmm.
Watch me,
Mm-hmm.
watch me in the dust, So, I'll have to say, my mom was able to stay at home from his career, and budgets. We call that the B word. So what I do now with my children, because that that affected me in such a way that resentment. It really gave me a resentment. And
Sure.
so the way that I set my kids up, the older children. So my oldest is 27, and he got certifications in welding. He is a highly capable, very good, great welder. And so I said, okay, we're going to build a business. This is going to be your master's program in business. We're going to do this together, and I'm going to show you how to hustle. I'm going to show you how to set this up correctly, and we're going to go. And so that's what we've started to do. So all of the lessons that I've learned by
Mm-hmm.
saying no, thank you, I'm not settling for that,
Right.
I've been able to give to him as he's growing in little bits and pieces, which kind of goes into this, coaching and life coaching for entrepreneurs. It kind of just rolls into that. So the financing for them is uh, how important credit is. I
Right.
actually, bought your program to show them. We're going to have a family meeting. We talk about these things over family meetings, and talk about, where do you want to start? Here's some options. So I'm teaching them how to build their wealth in different ways than my parents ever did, because I
Mm-hmm.
want them to not settle, or not, they don't even know. I'm
Right.
always amazed at, why are we not teaching this in schools?
In school. Well, and there's actually, from what I've understood, I think there's probably like a little over maybe 20 schools in the United States now that have passed bills that are requiring high school seniors to take at least one course in personal finance before graduating. And Texas is one of them. So that was really good to hear. And also, I don't think that's enough. I mean, I think it should be at each age, starting to introduce these financial literacy terms. But I love that you're doing that. And I think that your kids are so fortunate to have you in that regard, because I think it's very different to have money and then say, okay, what do I do with it now? Versus, okay, I want to grow wealth, and I don't have much, but I want to adopt tools and disciplines that allow me to, save and invest and do these things that will help me become better off later in life. So I commend you so much for that, and helping our world become a more financially literate place.
One child at a time.
um, yeah, one child at a time. You've got a construction company, Domain Construction, and you've successfully grown that. You've had it for over 13 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what it's like negotiating deals in such a male-dominated industry? And I don't normally go straight in for the kill with these types of questions, but I just know you have such a wealth of experience, and I really want to dive into that. So, yeah, can you tell me a little bit about what that's been like?
I think that there's a lot of parts to that question,
Mhm.
but in general, to negotiate in a male dominated field, if I'm going in with enough confidence and I have the verbiage and the language, then today it seems that I can gain the trust and the through my experience. but that took a
Mhm.
very long time to learn that, the construction language, to learn what, builders and homeowners are looking for in a contractor, and to learn what they've experienced our unfortunately our field gets a bad rap sometimes. So,
Mhm.
but even with trades, I've had lots of interesting moments with trades who felt that they knew more than I did, and they probably did on some levels, or had that attitude that they didn't really need to listen to a female, and they didn't work for me for very long. So it's an easy way to weed through. What's interesting?
Yeah.
It just dawned on me that I have a crew that's been with me for almost that entire 13 years. And that's just with domain. I've been in construction for almost 20 by
Yeah.
accident. And so what happens is you start to weed out the machismo. You start to weed out the men that aren't getting the jobs because of that attitude. They start to weed out because homeowners don't appreciate that either. So I have two crews, one that's been with me over almost the whole time, and another one that's been with me about 4 or 5 years. And they're with me because of their attitude. They're with me because of their desire, their loyalty. I'm loyal to them. I treat them well. I take care of them well, and they take care of me as well. And they're the experts, and I know that. And so, if I treat them with respect and dignity, they do the same. And that's my team. So
Mhm.
even in a male dominated world, as a female, I can come in with all of my characteristics and win over
Mhm.
a job or a bid from the way that we treat people. Yeah.
I love that. And I also think too, one of the primary reasons, I mean, amongst many, but I was so interested in interviewing you is just because, you mentioned like the reputation of the construction industry and seeing the way that you conduct yourself so ethically and the business with integrity. I just, I think that there needs to be more exposure to that and to the moral compass of businesses. And I just, I so appreciate the way that you answered that question, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, maybe she'll tell the story of like this really intense negotiation with this person or whatever. And really, you're so humble and graceful. You take a step back for your team, which, I mean, to be surrounded by good company and to have a good team is everything. Like, people, human capital is really, I think, the most valuable asset to any company. And so that is just so heartwarming. How many folks are on your team? Both of them, if you don't mind me asking.
So I have a female project manager.
Mm-hmm.
She's fantastic. And I have two crew leads, and their core team is about 3 to 5 guys. And
Mm-hmm.
then their expanded team is tenfold. So, in other
Awesome.
words, they can handle getting an entire framing crew. They can
Mm-hmm.
handle getting an entire sheetrock crew if we have larger jobs. They
Mm-hmm.
don't just rely on their core. The core guys can do everything. So,
Right.
yeah, quite a
That's
few. I
awesome.
would say 25 guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I'm curious, looking at the Austin real estate market, I know that, the growth there has probably impacted the growth of your company in many ways as well. And I'm curious, looking over the past 10 to 15 years, how has, the business grown? And can you talk a little bit about, I would say there's a good portion of the audience that, are probably on their first or second venture, or thinking about starting their first venture. And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about the inception? I've heard you mention once, and I know this personally, like you, you started the company on accident and or got into construction on accident. So I'm curious, can you share a little bit about that and how it's evolved over time, organically with the growth, but also, I mean, with the growth of the Austin housing market too?
Oh, yeah, those are big questions. So accidentally, I was married, not by accident. I was married on purpose, and he we built a house, we moved into it, and his company cut his hours, and so he started moonlighting at with a custom home builder. He was a mechanic
Mhm.
for their spray foam insulation truck, which has an abundance of mechanical parts and pieces. So it was great for him. And I was fascinated by this green building product, spray foam. And I started to go to the Green Building Council meetings in Austin. I started to go to the association meetings, the Builders Association here, and meeting with builders and seeing what custom home builders and kind of picking their brain. And I started to build this business by accident around. I learned how to do takeoffs and I started to do bids. And I was come home and I'd say, look, we could rent this rig from this custom home builder who owns a rig for just his, and we
Uh,
could, make some really good money. And so
right.
that's what we started doing. And then
Yeah.
he left. My husband left. He left me in the business, and it was the best gift he ever did for me, but not my children, but for me,
Right.
because I had all these builders calling me for bids at that point.
Hmm.
And so I just subcontracted that out. I started networking with, spray foam guys, and I had a great spray foam crew, and then builders started asking me to do more, friends started asking me to do things, and before I knew it, I was doing a big huge remodel, and didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't say no. I figured everything out. Listen, I lost money, I made a lot of money, I've lost a lot of money, I've learned as things grew and I got a crew that was amazing, that that this was going to be my master's program,
Yeah.
right? And I
I would say
learned,
more valuable too, because you
oh,
firsthand experience, right?
absolutely. I mean, I was down at the city, turning in permits and plans,
Mhm.
and I learned all that on the fly. I asked a lot of questions, and I think that that's what people appreciated the most. That
Mhm.
I would ask for help or ask how they did these things and didn't care what I looked like.
Right.
And here's the thing, when you're a mom and you have three babies and a young man growing, and you have those types of responsibilities, there's nothing that's going to embarrass me with these kids. So I took
Mhm.
every opportunity to, they would go on job sites with me. They'd have fruit snacks and juice and games and Legos and all the stuff in the back of this big old Suburban. And we would go from job to job. And that's how I did it. And they learned that mom's got to work, and they watched all of that. So talk about financial pressure and financial, hustle. When don't ask a mom, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to make some things, and a woman. Don't ask women, or don't tell women that they can't do it.
Oh,
And so
right.
even my father, who I love and respect, I told him what I'm doing. And he said, after my husband left, it was pretty dire straits. I mean, I took
Yeah.
advantage of everything I paid into: food stamps, Medicaid, everything. I cleaned houses. I was a substitute teacher at my kids' school. I did everything I could, anything I could,
Yeah.
to take care of my kids and
Hmm.
to give them a life. It was the first time I ever felt, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to take care of these kids? And my
Hmm.
father said, you need a 9 to 5. And I said, there's no way I can do a 9 to 5 and pay
Right. How are you supposed to do that?
dollars. And I had no degree, I had lots of college, but
Right.
no degree, no way to pay $3,000 a month in childcare to go to
Right.
work. And so they went with me and I hustled,
Love
you know?
that.
Yeah. And then
I
go ahead.
no, no, no. Please finish.
So the second question you asked was, I forgot. What was it?
The housing market, how the boom with, I mean, we saw the crisis in 2008. I know you had mentioned you've been doing this 20 years, but with Domain 13, and I know, we've seen some incredible growth, and I know there's been labor shortages and supply shortages, and so I'm curious, yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
I think because everything has been a learning process for me, that those levels of pivots weren't as hard.
Yeah.
And so, the pivot, the 2008 crash, I really got in the mix during that time. And
Mhm.
it was custom home builders who already had contracts, who already had a reputation, who already, were doing the deal. And then as things progressed, people were just remodeling their homes instead of
Mhm.
buying.
Mhm.
So it kind of had so my business gradually grew, and there's always this kind of dip in it. It's just the lay of the land for contractors. Excuse me. So when COVID hit, just like everybody else, we were like, what's going to happen? And we
Right.
had nothing to do but to get creative. There is no way around it, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, and so pivoting with materials, so we were able to oh pivot and guide our clients on what they needed to purchase differently,
Sure.
change maybe some of the things and focus on the things that would raise the value of their homes instead of an entire home remodel at that time.
Right.
The time frame to get these things done were remarkably challenging, and in fact, I'm finishing up a 2-year new construction build that yeah, started 2 years ago, and it started off, it's doubled in price because of the material changes,
Hmm.
right? The cost changes, and now
Right.
it's kind of leveled out, but time frames for everything has pushed that project 2 years out. It was a
Wow.
million and a half project, million and
Well,
a half.
it sounds like I mean, just with your experience and expertise around the subject matter of your industry, I think it sounds like all of your clientele is very fortunate to have you on these projects
Right.
and
Mhm.
be working with you because those I'm sure have posed many incredible challenges for people in all sides of the housing
Right.
sphere. So yeah, I love that. It sounds like you've been working with people, and I also totally understand. I've spoken with a few people about their impact of COVID. And I think there are people that are just like more suited to handle trials and tribulations in life that, I mean, honestly, have a tendency to thrive in those circumstances and under pressure. And I love that you shared that response because I relate to that so much. And I've seen some of my most I would say, impactful growth through
Mhm.
times like that. And so, talk to me about Daddy's, the barbershop. Let's
Sure.
talk a little bit about where that came from. How long have you been in that venture? Tell me a little bit about it. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Daddy's Barbershop started, it was born in the Castro in San Francisco. It's a gay barbershop.
Love
And
it.
my uncle owned it. And, we were talking one day, and he said he's opening Daddy's with two other guys. It was a 3-man little shop. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So how much are you making off the shop? And he said, well, nothing really. I'm just, they pay booth rent and chair rental, and it pays the rent. And I said, huh, you're not making any money.
Uh-huh.
And so, and that's what a lot of, barbershops or hair places will do. The problem that I have is like, yeah, you got to make money. So I
Mm-hmm.
started researching different business models, and I approached he and his partner and said, "Hey, y'all are missing the boat here. Here's take a look at this, right?
Right.
What do you think? I could make you." And I just financed it out. I showed the
Line by
numbers
line
line by
projection.
line. The
Mhm.
numbers don't lie, right?
Mhm.
And so they hired me as their business consultant 20 years ago. And
Wow.
so the next door opened up, they expanded into that. We became an iconic barbershop, but not so much the barbershop, but the name Daddies. We were part of the SF Leather, which is a leather pageant for the gays,
Love
and
it.
we had contestants that win, and we'd go to the nationals, and they representing Daddy's Barbershop, and they would spend a year in fundraising for support of the homeless, support of people of the LGBTQ plus community, and my uncle was on the board of for Folsom, which is a huge
Wow.
uh, event in San Francisco for 10 years. He was part of the community. We gave back to the community, so we became known for that. We had, by the end of it, 9 chairs, but 13 barbers, 2 shifts, 7 days a week, 2 to 3 hour waits. People would wait for a
Wow.
shop. Yeah, for so this little barber shop was crazy, crazy busy. So we
Mhm.
expanded into Palm Springs.
Okay.
And Palm Springs is still open. Unfortunately, COVID hit. San Francisco was shut down for 10 and a half months. That
Wow.
whole city just did not do well. The whole Castro was like shutting down. And we'll probably go back. But so now we're in Palm Springs doing some things, survived COVID, and my brother and I are here, and we were like, let's open one
Yeah.
in Austin. And so we partnered with
Mhm.
my uncle on this one, and we'll be open a year, January 24th. Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, it's coming up on a year anniversary. That's so exciting. We will be sure to link map, location, website, everything in the episode description for all your businesses. That I think too. The social media too. I've really enjoyed seeing y'all's photos. I love just the branding that you guys have done with everything. It's very attractive. So I just thank you for sharing
That
that
is
story. And go ahead.
That's another female entrepreneur who her name is Jenna Harrington. She's
Love it.
fantastic. I hired her, and boy, we just bounce off each other. It's so much fun. Get
The
a couple
colors are
entrepreneurs in the room.
phenomenal.
Oh, she's done it. She's completely
Yeah.
rebranded us, and
Yeah.
uh, we love her. We're like, you're coming with us. So now I'm pulling her in to do domain construction and Black Star, and introduce her to
Perfect.
a few others. Yeah.
Perfect. Wow, that sounds amazing. And let's link her too, if you're supporting, yeah, and I think too, like the visual aesthetic, I mean, it was just like, wow, I mean, it's a whole vibe. So we'll
It
be
is.
sure to link the social media links there as well. And I yeah, I'm curious. So you have 4 children. How, like, I have a hard time wrapping my head around, um, and I feel like this might be a big door to open, in terms of a conversation because there's so much there. It's so, like, it's such a fertile conversation. How have you managed? I mean, I know you talked about bringing them along with you. I mean, but that's one area where it's like, I'm sure flexibility and schedule has a lot to do with it. But how have you managed to balance being a serial entrepreneur and raising 4 children? Because I mean, there's so much, and I'll just lead in with this. um, I think there's so much ambiguity around a woman's role. I don't even know if that makes sense, but like,
Oh,
it went from, women stay home and then they started to enter the workforce, and there's this very large gap that was never bridged, around,
That's right.
okay, our women who are in the workforce are also mothers. And now I think there are so many, um, there's like opposition between stay-at-home moms and working moms, and then there's also this element of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, or I've taken on twice, I'm working a full-time job and I'm being a mom, which is a full-time job. And so I'm curious what your experience has been with that, and how you've balanced all that, and also what your thoughts are about some of those bigger
Sure.
topics of conversation.
I think the overall answer is you grow into that. It's not
Mhm.
something that when my kids were little was easy to navigate or figure out or to even know. I think in
Mhm.
retrospect, things happen the way that they happen, thank God. That's it. And I think that women, I agree with you. I've been a stay-at-home mom and I had to get in the workforce. So I've been able to do both. Even as a stay-at-home mom, I was a personal trainer in between because I just had to have something that was me. And
Right.
but child rearing and being a stay-at-home mother has its own entrepreneurial aspect to it. Think
Mhm.
about it. You've got 4 kids, right? And you know, you have no money, right? And you start
Mhm.
getting creative. And we made snack packs and they loved that. And then we had outings to all the free, wonderful things in our city in Austin. And we made a learning experience. We experienced life together. And so they didn't know that we were poor. They didn't know any of that, right? And people, in our communities pitched in at
Yeah.
times, Christmas and all those things. I remember them getting, remember they used to have that bike-a-thon through one of the radio stations. And my kids got new bikes one year from that
Wow.
because someone, and I don't even know who it was, someone put our name in that deal. And so being in the community, and I think that's really important, is being connected to a family. I'm connected to a group of people that are so supportive. Like some people are in their church or in AA or in networking communities in their field. All those things are opportunities to have an more. It takes more than just me. The other thing that you said that's interesting is we have this kind of this gradual growth into, yes, I need to work, don't tell me I can't work, woman,
Right.
right? And I love that we fought for that. Of course, I have an issue with all the backtracking, but the truth is, if we're really honest, we haven't gone that far from here,
Right.
right? We
Right.
haven't. And I think that is a responsibility as I've aged and have had some businesses to go back and start, voicing these concerns I have in our culture
Yeah.
against women, right?
Mhm.
And so, and against marginalized people, against the
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus community, against blacks, against all women. It's just
Mhm.
amazing to me. And we've got such a beautiful city that embraced all that, that I
Mhm.
hope and wish that more women would come into the political side of things. That's my little stint on that, because that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that there's this ideal that I don't know where it comes from. I really don't, because it's crap. That women, mothers, should be a certain way.
Mhm.
That moms should be, they should be, the house should be clean. That doesn't happen. The meal should be on the table at a certain time.
Right.
Good for you. That uh, everything should be regimented. What? I don't get all that. And so I became very kind because I had that criticism as well. My brothers, as liberal as our family was, there were some cultural things that that were instilled in us, right? And and so they would have some things to say, and I'd say that's great, and I would ignore it and move on. If my house was messy so that I could go sell a job, you better believe I'm going to choose to go sell a job than worry about if my house is messy. Be
Right.
kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. There's no perfect way to be a mother. There's not. So who cares? Who cares what you do? It doesn't have to look the same. It doesn't have to look like a stay-at-home mom who had, because by the way, stay at home, that's real boring to be doing all the laundry. I
Hmm.
didn't want to do that. I wanted to make big piles of laundry where you could jump in it and have some fun. That's
Right.
just the kind of, we made fun, who cared? And
Yeah.
I think, and, my mom wasn't perfect, but she certainly was a fun mom and we were creatives. I'm a creative. I can't be stifled by societal norms. And so, and I just think it's women being kind to
Mhm.
themselves, that there's not one way to do all this stuff. So creating these businesses is something that I had to do, but I also was able to go, you know what, this is a season of my life. When those kids are little, it's a season
Yeah.
of my life. I can't do all these things. It's just going to be slower progress, maybe, but I'm still going to take any action towards, my business.
Hmm.
And any action is some action.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's two things that come to mind too. I mean, it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, so just sharing a little bit about my own personal background with this. My mom was a single mom. She's a realtor. She teaches real estate now, but, I was grown up with this ideal of like, never depend on a man, always have your own money, and I've written a blog about this and talked a little bit about it on the podcast, but I've been a part of this women's personal finance group and or for
Mm.
non-binary, and it's a really inclusive group. There's probably like 65, 70,000 women in it, and
Wow.
incredible. Like some of the most, I mean, you want to ask a question about personal finance, this is the place to do it. And I can't tell you how many people I see posting, I've been married, I've been staying at home with the kids for the past however many years, and my husband started abusing me or he started cheating on me. And I don't know the first thing about what to do. I haven't had
Mm.
my own money. There's financial abuse involved.
Mhm.
And, to read how everybody just gathers around these, I mean, it's complete strangers, but they give suggestions like, when you're at the grocery store, start pulling out a little bit of cash each time you go, and putting it away and start saving for an attorney, And I'm just like, I cannot even imagine the stress of that. And it's sad that like that power dynamic still exists today, and one of the gifts I think that the internet has brought mothers, especially stay-at-home moms, is the ability to earn an income online from home, and one of many ways, of course. But I think that it really has opened a lot of doors, and that came to mind as you're talking about this because there's so many ideals, right? And I think people can have mental breaks trying to become a perfectionist with, being a top lady at work, and then they're working a 9 to 5, and then paying for the nanny or the daycare, and then coming home and keeping a perfect house. And it's like, and then everybody is piling on these opinions of how they should be mothering, and how they're
Right.
doing it wrong, or what a disgrace this is, and so I don't know. I just think it's really refreshing to hear your passage of permission for the people to reevaluate that. on any side, no matter, who you are. I think women are under so much scrutiny, and it's like, how can we have that internal dialogue with ourselves and question those narratives, question that judgment?
Mhm.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious, um, can you tell me a little bit about your vision when it comes to empowering women?
Well, I think this conversation is a great vision of it. I
Mhm.
think that we have to, like you said, change the narratives, and it's narratives that we start to tell ourselves,
Mhm.
whether they're true or false, right? And so, determining what's true and what's false, based on, the way that we've been brought up, based on our circumstances, based on where our belief systems, and trying to reconcile that. And I think that my goal and my desire from the bottom of my heart is to take my story, because all of us have a story and all of us have a starting point, and to
Mhm.
get past all the traumas and the things that held us back when we were younger doesn't
Mhm.
serve us anymore, and how to get over those societal norms, those cultural non-diversities that
Mhm.
and the hurdles that we rather, whether they're fancied or real, those hurdles sometimes that are holding us back, we just need to kick them aside. We don't even need to jump over them. We just need to kick them aside. And I think that empowering women, to give them the verbiage and the self-esteem and the resources, right? We need resources. We need each other. Um, and we also need men. This isn't about taking men down. It's about, let me just tell you how this is going to work for me. Here's
Mhm.
my language. Here's how my construction company is going to work. I know Bob. I can't tell you how many jobs that we get because we're female. A, and
Mhm.
B, because we're listeners,
Mhm.
right? Females in general are listeners, and B, because someone has screwed them over,
Yeah.
right? And we've got to come in and fix it. And that's my heart, right? It doesn't uh, and it's about it. What is your integrity, your character, your morals, your values? Because we get really caught up in the marriage life and
Mhm.
different culture, because you're coming in a partnership with a different culture and upbringing and traumas and all of
Right.
those things, right? So how do you come together and create your own
Mhm.
with autonomy, with your own spiritual, physical, and a financial well-being, right? How do you stand strong in that? And
Yeah.
I think there's a real huge problem, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you brought it back to yourself and your business, because I think that's where like change starts, right? Is like in our immediate circle and then it ripples out. And I've been feeling the effects of your vision and creating my own too. And so it's so beautiful to have this intersection of like-mindedness around this topic. And I fully support your vision and all of its endeavors. And, I'm curious, there may be some brand new moms with like real little ones at home or brand new business owners or both. And they're like hanging on by a thread right now. The economy has seen better days without a doubt. What suggestions would you have for them in their darker moments?
Wow. Give yourself 6 weeks of nothingness. I can remember, and you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So being gentle with your needs, if you're having to get up at 2 and then 4 and then 6 and then 8, that you sleep in between, and you don't give and you get creative with your food. And I'm serious. Like, I learned how to take a meal, a roasted chicken and pasta or rice and a vegetable, and it was 3 different meals. And so you get creative with the way that you save money, the way that you spend, the way that you cook, so that there's no waste. There's lots of little things like that. I didn't have food delivery. If I would have had drive-throughs and food delivery, I can't believe how much of a deal that is. Save your money beforehand and use the deliveries as much as
Yeah.
you can. Take help. Take help from other women. Don't forget that you have other women. You're
Mhm.
not alone. It
Mhm.
always feels like very lonely. And men, bless their hearts, a lot of men are wonderful with this, and a lot of men are not.
Right.
They don't have it, and that's okay too. That this is only a temporary. I just want to. This is just a temporary time in your life. I promise it gets better and easier, and all. This is a good time to plan. This is a
Mhm.
good time to plan your creation. This is a good time to talk to other mothers who have done this. Take some advice, but don't give up on your. If you're creative like me, I'm always thinking about how if someone comes in and says, "Oh, I'm doing this and this," and I'm thinking, well, I could probably make money off of that part of it, and that I could create about 3 to 5 streams of income in one conversation.
Love
And it's
it.
hers, but uh,
Yeah.
you know, don't give that some attention in your writing. Write.
Yeah.
So do the things that you can do without feeling the overwhelm, feeling your feelings, and then letting it go through your body. You know what I mean? Not carrying that guilt or shame. There's no way you're supposed to be but freaking tired with a new baby. Forget it.
Yes.
I used to laugh and say, well, throw up's my new perfume, and my new gel is also throw up. So there.
Love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is such sound advice. I love the reminder that this is temporary,
Yeah.
It really is. The only two things in life that are constant, death and taxes. Those things don't change. Um,
Taxes are rude. So
yeah, right? So, okay, you know, gosh, there's been so many good things. I want to talk a little bit. I'm really excited about your new endeavor with your business partner for women, and this umbrella. It sounds like of different. Resources for women to become empowered and yeah, so can you talk a little bit about that yet, or is that something yeah.
yeah, I can touch on it. So watch for us. We're coming. We are a group of women that are entrepreneurs, and we are bringing to the table a coaching, a podcast, a life coaching to help other female entrepreneurs get past whatever is holding them back. We'll go in, we'll analyze your business wherever you are. So we're going to show up to wherever you are in the process. If you're just starting, if you're in the middle of it, or if you're at the top and you're ready to go to the next level, there's always something that we can do to help push you over those deals. And so we have helped, quite a few women get to a place where they find it within themselves. Because here's the deal: we all have it. We all have it within us. We just don't know how to get over or past certain points. And I can
Right.
relate to that. I do too. I still need that lift, or that, hey, what do you think about this? And I get, because I'm bouncing it off of other women entrepreneurs, they're giving me ideas and I just try them. It's okay to fail. Failing is a great tool to show you what you might do in another business that might work somewhere else in your business. That might work with someone, one of your workers or employees, or however, whatever. So it's also your master's program. That's what I love to use, because I learned everything I knew about construction by saying yes and failing a lot. And I
Mhm.
didn't care. And so changing the language that we tell ourselves, but also changing the language of what we believe failure is, or what the negative connotations that we have to certain language, that
Mm.
we like to dissect and change the narrative. So that's what we're hoping to do in this field, and also help women see themselves and get past their own traumas and things that have happened in their life, to let go of those things and start moving in that direction where they can be completely successful.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And yeah, I mean, I'm so excited, and I hope to have both you and your new business partner come on the podcast in the new year, for like, I would say like a two-part series episode where we can really unpack, because there's so much to unpack with, women and the philosophy around it, and women in business, and women as mothers, and the resources that can support women wherever they are at any stage in life. And so I feel really, really excited about that. And I guess for the last question, I'm curious, if there's one thing that you would hope someone would walk away from this podcast and put in their pocket, what would that be?
You have everything within you, and it doesn't take money. It really doesn't. It takes a desire, it takes tenacity, and it takes a team. It takes self-esteem, and that's what I get from other women. So I'd really like you, if there's anybody out there, any females out there, and men that are struggling with what to do next, there are answers. That's what I'd love for you to know. That there are
Mhm.
answers. There are ways to get through all this, and and it's all within you. Yeah.
Mm. I love it so much. Terri, thank you so much for the time to come on the podcast and be my guest today. It has been such a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me, and I wish you all the success with your business. And
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to have you on our podcast.
Oh
So,
yeah, I mean it's going to be really. 2024 is looking like a really good year,
it's,
and so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again. And for those of you who will be joining us in the new year, I will see you guys in 2024. And I hope you have a great rest of 2023.
thanks. Bye.